the coming of Islam or the new faith at that time did not discriminate against, as you see, the feminine or the female, neither in duties nor in rewards. And we are going to see how did it work in terms of duties. We are going to see the participation in the public life by these women. Okay, they attended mosques. In America, really, if you look at Islam in America, you will find similarities to that period from the converts, because in America you have Islamic centers and you have women and men. As far as 20 years ago, I am originally from Morocco, young women did not go to the mosque. So if you go to the mosque, there are widows, there are older people, but young people, if you went to the mosque, they really look like it's a little bit not right. So, but in America, when I came to America, it was a completely different story. They were just amazingly, we have converts to deal with. So you have Islamic centers with men and women are very active. They, at that time when the new faith came, its participation in attending mosques is very important. I don't think it seems that important here, but let me tell you a story. We were 2 years ago in Egypt, and you know, coming from Morocco, you read all those manuscripts and this, and you have this ideal image of Egypt because it's the Islamic city of, you know, the essence of an Islamic city. And I was really going there with the idea, oh my God, I'm going to get into those mosques, I'm going to do this and that. It turned out no, the mosques were open to women only from 10 until 4 o'clock. The only mosque where you could pray, I mean, then when you got in, because if you are a foreigner and you pay money, that's different. But if you are a woman, you look brown like them, they really don't give you that much status. And finally you go in, and with my daughter with me, and I wanted to have even just a little room where I could just pray, because here I am in the mosque of Al-Hussein, and it was first of all filled, and there was a man with a stick and completely like herding, you know, people, like, and you couldn't even have the peace to pray. And if you pray, they pray fast and leave, because to give from that time 10 to 4 o'clock, it was just the time for all those people coming from outside the city to have the blessings, and that's the only time they had. And when I asked, I went, you know, for Isha or for, I wasn't allowed into the mosques. So when I talk about religious freedom at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, it's in Saudi Arabia, and they were following Saudi Arabia, by the way. That's what's happening, and this is under Jad al-Haq, the Mufti of Egypt. Now we have Tantawi, and he's very, very much open-minded, and things are changing tremendously. But in Saudi Arabia, they have the time from 10 to 4, and you can argue for that, you say safety and things like that, but I think it should be open to men for, to women for worship like men. So they attended mosques. They participated in the religious services on feast days. When you have, and in America, again, there is no problem because the women do attend the feast days. We have two main holidays, Islamic holidays. One is called Eid al Fitar. Eid is a Muslim holiday. The word Eid is holiday. Al Fitr is, that's the day after the Ramadan, when you break the fast and everybody is celebrating, and it's really a very important day for kids because their parents can eat and there is food and there will be all kind of new clothes and, you know, all kind of. And the other Eid is Eid al Adha. And this is the Eid where you sacrifice. It's right after the period of Hajj. After doing all that hard work, there is a celebration. And every Hajj has to sacrifice a sheep, and that's all done in the memory of Ibrahim when he wanted to sacrifice Ismail for the Muslims, and he was just having the sheep instead of him. The Shia holidays, I think the, do you know of any? Muharram, the 10th of Muharram, and it's, Muharram is one of the first lunar month of the Arabic calendar, and the 10th day is actually the day where you give your zakat. In Morocco, this is the day when we give your zakat. As I said, there is sadaqah and zakat. Zakat is the required fee. I think it's 2%, 2.5% of all your savings every year should be given to the poor. So the Muslims, at least in Morocco, they have this day set up for it. And also it's in my family, because we are related one way or the other to the Prophet's family, we celebrate, actually, we are Sunnis, but we do celebrate the 10th of Muharram. And we have just some kind of traditions. It's fun for kids because you get up very, very early in the morning, before Fajr. You have to shower in cold water. But for the first 10 days, we don't wash clothes. You have to have a lot of clothes to wear because it shows the huzn, the sadness for what happened to Hussein at the Ma'araka, at the Battle of Karbala, when his head was cut. So, but this is, as a kid, I grew up with it. You don't have clothes washed, and on the 10th day you get up very early and you have a cold shower. Then, but the 9th day at night, we will have in the night, and we lived in a place like this with nice stars, and the night is very bright. We will have a big fire. It's called Sha'ala, and we will jump over it before. It was just, it's something that's carried on. I never looked at it to see what's its, I know symbolism. It's like Ibrahim when he went through the fire and didn't get burned or whatever. But there are elements of what's celebrated now in Shia countries in a Sunni country like Morocco, and it's there. So you could see the differences on that. Anyway, so women were able to participate in the religious services and on feast days. Actually, here in America, it's no problem because most of the people on Eid day you will see in the Musala. That's the place where there is the congregational prayer. It's called Musala, and you will have both women and men there. And if you go to Chicago, it's huge gathering. It's beyond 5,000 Muslims, and I was lost there, and mostly all of them is from Pakistan and India, and if you don't speak Urdu or Hindi, you really get very in trouble. And but it's huge, and it's both men and women. But in the Arab country, I mean the Muslim countries where I came from, like Morocco, we did not go to the Musala for Eid, and we did not attend the Janaza prayer. That's the, I'm going to get to it. So they listened also, this woman listened to the Prophet ﷺ public discourses, which means they were exactly like men, like what we are doing here. Men and women were sharing in the intake of the knowledge, imparting the knowledge from the Prophet ﷺ. Now, by having women not go to mosque, by having women not participate in the public educational places, you deprive them from knowledge. If a woman is deprived from her knowledge of religion, remember the word Sharia that was coming up from every speaker, okay? Well, that's Sharia that's used to govern women, okay? And anybody could pull any kind of explanation and put a rule, and therefore it can be applied. If these women do not read the sources, if they are not acquainted with the Sharia, how would they defend what's being imposed on them? So there is this statement, the voice of a woman is like, forbidden to anybody to hear it. There is, the women are, lacking in brains and also in religion. So all those things are happening, and the more they get implemented, the more they deprive women from knowledge of the Sharia, because that's what gets you. That's when they tell you, you have to stay home, you have to wear a hijab, you can't marry this, you can't do that. The only way is, hold it, stop. Give me the source. Tell me which hadith, like you're doing to me. Give me the name of that woman you are talking about. Same. See, if we don't have that training, if we don't know it, we are at the mercy of any kind of, and I'm not saying the layman, the Muslim man also is a victim, because there are powerful, very, very few who are manipulating the power, and it becomes a game. So these women attended the discourses of the Prophet, the public discourses of the Prophet ﷺ, memorized and recited his revelation. Yeah.
When I was there, they were speaking on this very same thing, improved employment, and they were saying, unlike in the United States, we don't want to control all the men, we only want to control the man that controls us. And if he has the book and the law, and we are not allowed to see it, he then interprets it however he pleases.
That's exactly. So it is not a war of gender, no, because we live with, I love my husband, I love my father, all of us have sons. You can't, in the universe, we have this complementarity. You can't live without a man cannot live with a woman. So the idea of having this dichotomy and create a war, it comes from divide and conquer. And they use it actually, if you come from a colonized country, you are always having that as your, yes, the French came and the first thing they did is, they went to Islamic schools, destroyed them. The first thing, and this is I'm talking from historical, the first thing they did is they targeted the Arabic language, the Islamic institutions, to confuse the people. Because when you don't have a root, when you have established for so many hundred years in a system, you have the strong language, you have your strong books and things like that. And the second thing is the woman. See, when the women start to tell her, poor you, look what you are suffering. But they never took any solutions. Fine, poor me, but what do you do for me? How do I get out of it? Yeah, so anyway, the women, it's very, very important that they are educated, not in any way or shape to threaten or to be against the man. It's just to survive in the world as a functional member of the world society, not only in the Muslim country. You can't function now if you don't have a high education. So that's very, but Islamically speaking, the Sharia is extremely important. To know the Sharia, you have to know the Quran. To memorize the Quran, I went to Morocco and I went to buy, there was a woman who does this tajweed. She recites Quran beautifully. And because at Duke we have women's studies, it's very strong and everybody is looking, what did the woman do? Everybody. So I decided, I heard of this woman in Morocco, I need to buy her tapes, because that's the only way you will start a certain history and the exposure of those people to be known, and then the legacy will be carried on. When I asked my husband with me, the man wouldn't talk to me. He was an Islamist. Because I'm a woman, I can't talk to him. And so my husband asked him, he said, brother, it is very dangerous for a woman to learn to recite Quran. It comes from this sound, which is voice. And this word, that's awra. And the aura is blind, and it's really, there is a gamut of definitions for this word here, but people use it to destroy, it's very, very much in a sense used in a very not positive way towards women. To just tell her everything about you, your hair, your eyes, everything. It's like your private parts. You can't do anything. So even her voice in using it with the Quran, oh my God, if she recites it, then maybe some man will get excited or whatever, because I did not know what was the the dangerous thing about a woman reciting Quran. Anyway, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, not only women recited the Quran, they were exactly like those Kutab al-Wahi, Katib al-Wahi. Katib is those who wrote, who sat down with the Prophet ﷺ when a special verse was revealed. They internalized it and they went ahead and wrote it. So they were as important, doing the same job as some of the Huffaz that we see now surfaced as men and important, contributing to the growth of Islam, but not this woman. And I'm going to give you the name of one of them. So they memorized and recited Quran, and also the revelation. They acquired as their private possessions written portions of the sacred book, the sacred text. The woman, actually, the actual copy of the Quran that you have now, it is called the Mushaf Uthman. It's this Khalif here. It is attributed to him. Mushaf is book. Uthman, where did he get it from? He got it from his daughter Hafsa. Hafsa, okay? I don't know if somebody else mentioned her name to you. No? Okay. And she was also one of the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Hafsa, okay, when the Prophet died, there were copies of this Quran. Quran was written on palm leaves, on shoulders, bones, on things like that. It was gathered. So the copy that we have now, they created a committee. At the time of Abu Bakr, there was a committee of the people who reciters, memorizers of the Quran. They sat down against the written thing, and then they went through it, and that's why we have this. Then when Uthman went back to the same process, took the Hafsa copy, and that's what we have in front of us. So the woman, not only her, now we know only of Hafsa, but at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, those Sahabiyat, the people who were companions of the Prophet ﷺ, were called Sahaba, but feminine is Sahabiya, and we tend to use the word Sahabi all the time, which is masculine. I'm going to give you the feminine of it. Companions of the Prophet, and the plural of it is Sahabiyat. These are the women who were with the Prophet, like the other men, sharing every single thing that's happening at the beginning of the new faith. So they did, we have sources telling us that they acquired as their possessions, as their private possessions, written portions of the sacred text. They could, like man, pray over the dead. See, now we don't even go to the cemeteries. I mean, you go, but normally in Muslim countries, women do not go. And I know why it was forbidden, because sometimes there are certain kind of traditions where they cried a lot and there was a lot of emotion, and so it was from pre-Islamic, so it got forbidden.